So Chiefs wide receiver Xavier Worthy went viral over the weekend with debates raging on as to whether or not it was actually him, and then whether or not this workout clip as a whole was serious or it was him trolling around. And to make matters worse or more confusing, there were no tattoos seen on his arms. That's why a lot of people were confused. Who the heck is this guy? Well, in today's video, I'll break down what's going on with that, look at Mahomes' quote-unquote dad bod, because of course, that's a thing again, an issue again, but then I also want to process through the state of the Chiefs linebacker room, as well as honor one of my favorite Chiefs players of all time, who gave his life to try and save some boys from drowning. But first, how about those? First up, something strange is going on with Xavier Worthy, at least from the initial look. He went viral over the weekend via clip of him training. It was really multiple clips put into one video, but that's why I want to talk about this, because it was a little confusing with people thinking it either wasn't Worthy or they were confused why this footage was being posted publicly, because it doesn't look like he's doing much full speed or doing anything with 100% effort. Well, this page, Simone Sports Performance, they tagged Worthy on Instagram, and Worthy shared this to his story, and that's why I think this is him. He follows this page. He's been in multiple other clips of this page as well. However, he's not really moving exactly like him. Some are pointing to this being an issue of the longer grass being there, or maybe he's just working something else entirely altogether than full speed, full routes, and all that during these drills. And in fact, somebody actually messaged this page and said, well, Worthy's working on de-acceleration drills. So the focus is on him slowing down and making the turns and all of that rather than him running full speed. And he looks good while doing that. Okay, so I think it is Xavier Worthy, but if you want to go down the rabbit hole of, is it him, is it not him? Certainly looks like him. It's only a bit confusing because when you zoom in on his arms, look at his right arm, look at his left arm. There are no tattoos. Could very well just be a camera softening effect issue or just low quality thing that can happen to cameras from time to time. I'm a former videographer by trade, so maybe that's it. Okay, but yes, people are like, who is this and what happened to Xavier Worthy? Well, I think he was working on something in particular, not full speed routes, the tattoo thing disappearing. I think it's just a low quality camera issue, but you guys got to let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. It seems like Mitchell Schwartz just said, hey, look, this is longer grass. He's been working on strengthening his ankles, so you got to be a little bit careful here. And maybe that is what he's doing. Xavier Worthy has said to the media in recent days that he's been working on his ankle strength and stability after dealing with ankle issues off and on last season. He's trying to get stronger physically, mentally, all of it. And he's using this shoulder injury that he had to kind of jumpstart that and prepare for a very successful year 3 with the team. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because Xavier Worthy's been getting absolutely roasted on social media with guys saying, look, this is embarrassing. The Chiefs wide receiver room is still bad, and this is only further proof. I mean, you know what social media can do with any kind of post like this, so I am trying to defend Xavier Worthy a little bit here. He does move much quicker than this in basically every other clip I've seen from him. So again, if this is indeed Worthy, which I think it is, he has to be working on something else other than just moving as fast as he possibly can. But that's why some are saying, well, if he's not moving as fast as he can and that's not the goal, why share it on social media? Why would you do that when guys like Cyrus Allen, who was recently seen training with the Route God, he posted to social media flying around full speed and looks like he's moving around much better in comparison? I don't really know, okay? I don't think they were really thinking about it like that, but you guys got to let me know in the comments down below what you think of this. Is it a giant troll job or what exactly is going on here? And while you guys argue in the comments down below about that, I'm just going to say, regardless of this clip and the recent training footage we just saw, I am excited for Xavier Worthy this upcoming season for a few different reasons. There's a new wide receivers coach in town, Chad O'Shea, that's going to be able to get even more out of Worthy and really anybody in the wide receiver room as a whole. Then Worthy's not going to be playing 99% of the season with a dislocated shoulder and a torn labrum, maybe even in multiple places that needed surgically repaired, and because of that, he had a limited route tree and limited usage in the offense for the entire season. And finally, the Chiefs upgraded their running back room to take pressure off of everybody else as a whole in this offense, and I think it is truly going to help. So, all that to say, I think Worthy bounces back, and I would not be surprised if he had 700, 750 yards on the year. We'll just have to wait and see how everything shakes out, because you do have Rashee Rice, who probably leads the room in production. Kelsey's back for another year, and I think he'll be right up there with everybody else, maybe 700, 750, 800 yards himself. And from there, it's just a matter of who else is getting fed and makes the most of their opportunities. That could be Worthy. That could also be Tyquan Thornton, hauling in a bunch more deep balls than he was able to last year, and he still did a great job when he was out there on the field, and the Chiefs actually used him. There's also Kenneth Walker, who I think is going to be quite impactful in the pass game as a receiving back as well. I mean, Nate Taylor himself of ESPN, he noted that the Chiefs think K9's ability as a receiving back is underrated, underappreciated, something along those lines, and that tells me they're going to use him even more as a pass catcher out of the backfield. So we might see Kenneth Walker up there in total receiving yards by season's end. I mean, similar to 2022, that season, Jerick McKinnon was 4th on the team in receiving yards, racking up over 500, just over 500 yards himself. Walker, on the other hand, he's averaged about 250 to 300 receiving yards every year since 2023 with the Seahawks. But if you combine the playoffs last season, K9 had nearly 400 total receiving yards, so it's certainly possible that we could see a bigger step up from him in receiving yards, especially when you look at the Chiefs' offense and how they like to utilize their running backs in the pass game as an extension of the run. Anyway, next up, I want to talk about Mahomes apparently looking out of shape to some and why it's actually hilarious to me. But first, now that we know the Chiefs' full schedule and when they are playing at Arrowhead, it's one of the best experiences ever, and now is the time because of that to get your tickets, and the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, is the place to go. It's where I've been getting mine for years because they are the #1 rated ticketing app, boasting over 35 million downloads with more than 70,000 events listed on their site and app. Of course, the NFL season isn't until September, the regular season at least, but there's a lot of other events going on all summer long. Concerts, festivals, comedians, along with a lot of sporting events. You've got Sporting KC, KC Current, MLB, UFC has a ton of fights going on all the time, it seems. And then, of course, there's the World Cup taking place as well in the United States. As far as how to get your tickets, I personally prefer their app experience because of how simple it is to use. You just search for exactly what you want in your area. You get a ticket rated on a scale of 1 to 10. Just make sure to look for the green dots. Green means good, obviously, then red means bad. It also helps that every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I got a code for you guys. You can use code HBTC10 for 10% off your next set of tickets on SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code HBTC10. Just make sure to click the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thanks again, SeatGeek. All right, so this photo of Patrick Mahomes and his family also made its rounds over the weekend with, of course, one of the worst accounts on social media trolling about Mahomes looking extremely out of shape. And I don't need to go back and forth with anybody online about it or even this account because they're doing it only for clicks and views. But the dad bod thing has been a joke in the past, especially over the last few years. Even Mahomes himself has responded about it, laughing about it, adding the hashtag dadbod season with some laughing emojis. We all know this. Well, some have taken it as far as saying Mahomes doesn't take his offseason training seriously. A local radio host has even insinuated or directly said as much. And that's why it's like, no, you don't even have any idea what you're talking about. Nobody's working harder than Patrick Mahomes. All that he's been described as doing this season, this offseason rather, is working out and rehabbing that knee before practice, after practice. This man is one of the greatest to ever play the game if he retired today. So no, I don't think we need to question Mahomes' work ethic. And look at these pictures of Tom Brady and Eli Manning. The build for quarterbacks is all over the place, and honestly, I think Mahomes looks more in shape now than he did at this point last offseason, and I wasn't even worried about it then. The regular season, anyway, is still over 2 months away. Meanwhile, Mahomes has never shown us anything to have us doubting him, so let's not start now. The key is, how's the rehab doing? How's the knee doing? Not how many abs does he flex or show in a family photo. That's the biggest worry I have currently. Is Mahomes going to be ready come week 1? I think the answer to that is yes. At least it is trending in that direction. And that's actually a good thing to take out of this family photo that went viral. The fact that he was not seen wearing a knee brace. Even when he was walking into the World Cup over a week ago at Arrowhead Stadium, he was also seen without a knee brace, which is another good sign as he progresses in his rehab. Now, something I have no idea which way this position group will be trending is the Chiefs linebacker room without Leo Chanel, who's now with the Washington Commanders. You still have Drew Tranquill and Nick Bolton. I'll get to Bolton here in a minute because there's something pretty cool I saw involving him recently. But the big question is, who is going to fill the shoes left behind by Leo Chanel, considering how unique of a role he played on the Chiefs defense. He played roughly half the snaps that Bolton and Drew Tranquill did, so you can replace the snaps, but he was the pound-for-pound strongest player on the team, used in multiple different ways, including even on the edge as a pass rusher at times. Meanwhile, when I look at the roster, I don't see a direct replacement, and you probably aren't going to get one, right? But I would think Jeffrey Bossa has a bigger role to play this season after basically redshirting on defense last year. He played a bunch of snaps on special teams, though, for what it's worth. I just have to assume it's either going to be Jeffrey Bossa and or Cooper McDonald. Those are the two linebackers that most likely benefit the most from more playing time now that Leo Chanel's playing elsewhere. But let me know who you think that will end up being in the comments down below. On the subject of the linebacker room, though, let's talk about Nick Bolton, because he's going to be inducted into the Mizzou Athletics Hall of Fame for this year's class, and a pretty cool clip was shown of Andy Reid announcing this to the entire team after a recent practice, possibly at mandatory minicamp. So heck yeah, big congrats to Nick Bolton, who is a bit of a divisive name amongst Chiefs Kingdom. Some think he's a bit overrated, overpaid, and point to his struggles in coverage at times, which I do think the struggles in coverage are valid. His strength isn't as a coverage linebacker, even though he can do it. His lack of just overall speed shows up, especially on the edge when out in coverage, but I don't like that being pointed out, just his weakness, and then the rest of his strengths just being ignored. He's got great instincts, great IQ, great at stopping the run, and clearly has a ton of value to Spags in being the green dot of the defense. He has an out in his contract after this year, but not sure what they're going to do. That's a worry for another day entirely, and honestly, next offseason, that's going to be a huge one for the Chiefs, especially with an out in Chris Jones's contract. That is, if they want to move on from him. They certainly don't have to, but they can. And on top of that, this could also be Travis Kelce's last year if he decides to retire, and who knows if they're actually going to extend Rashee Rice or not. Again, those are just a few reasons why next offseason is going to be massive for the Kansas City Chiefs. Something else that I think is massively important, even though this will initially seem like a bit of a random thing to add, is getting your kids swim lessons, because today is the anniversary of the death of Joe Delaney, the former Chiefs player who tried to jump in to rescue some kids who were drowning after wading too deep into a water hole, and Delaney ended up losing his life as a result. Long story short, there were 3 boys swimming in a water hole at a park in Louisiana back in the summer of 1983, so it was between year 2 and year 3 of Joe Delaney's NFL career. He was only 24 years old at the time. There was a steep drop-off in this water hole. The boys were not expecting it. They couldn't swim, and as a result, they were screaming and yelling for help. Well, there was several other people around, but Joe Delaney acted instantaneously rushing in to help, and this is what he was on record as saying: "I can't swim good, but I've got to save those kids. If I don't come up, get somebody," and he rushed into the water. And what ended up happening is one kid thankfully was able to swim to the shallow end, but the 2 other boys and Joe Delaney himself did not make it out. Just such a tragic situation, but obviously Joe Delaney is a hero for doing what he did and trying his best at the age of 24 years old, even though he himself couldn't swim. And that's why he's not only one of my favorite Chiefs players to ever play the game, but a lot within Chiefs Kingdom. Not necessarily because of what he just did on the field. I mean, his career was cut way too short. He had a solid start, but ended up passing away between year 2 and year 3. So his NFL career was cut short, as well as his life in general. The good news and the positive spin on this on the day of his anniversary is that Joe Delaney's memory and efforts do live on to this day via the Joe Delaney Learn to Swim program, which was started in recent years by the Hunt Family Foundation, the Chiefs org themselves, and the YMCA. It's like a partnership between all of them, and this program offers free water safety and swim lessons, which is something I highly recommend anybody in the KC area to take their kids to, or if you don't live here, I highly consider learning how to swim yourself and teaching that to your kids. You just never know what could happen. Joe Delaney and those kids on that day back in 1983 certainly didn't know what was going to end up happening, so it's just better safe than sorry when it comes to that. So rest in peace to the legend himself, Joe Delaney, and until next time, let's freaking go. How about those?